it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, we are going to be making a fun fold card today that is one of the easiest to make and yet it looks so cool. So let's get to it. I'm starting off using some Gina Innocent Pink cardstock. I think this is £100, either 100 or 110. Fairly sturdy. It's going to be used for the base to create the base, so we want it to be a decent weight. Now, the measurements for this are super easy. It needs to be 11 inches long, and I'm going to do a 4 1/4 inch card. That way, it's going to end up being 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is my regular card size, and therefore fits in an envelope. Now, so I did one piece that is going to be 4 1/4, and then the second piece is completely optional. So I'm choosing to do this about, I think, 2 1/4 inches, just so it's, not half, but a little over, just whatever you can do whatever you want for that second piece. It can be the same height, it can be a tiny strip, it can be a wider strip. Then you need to score at 2 3/4 inches and 5 1/2 inches. And that's it. That's all the measuring done. And then you just fold them. So I'm going to fold this one, and this will essentially kind of fold in half and then back on itself. And then you're going to do the same with this one, but you can practice with a practice piece of paper if need be, but kind of the opposite. So instead of folding forward, I'm just going to turn this one around so it folds this way. So you make 2 Z's or Z's, and then they're going to fit together like this. So when they open it up, it's sort of this square box looking, but it folds nice and flat, and that means, as I said, it's going to fit in an envelope perfectly. Now, for this one, I'm not using many supplies to create this card. I'm going to use the Stamperia Garden paper pad. Now, this is an 8x8 paper pad with lots of gorgeous bits and pieces. There are definitely rub-on packs and ephemera packs and paper cutout packs that come with these that you can purchase separately. I didn't purchase any of those because I like the Stamperia ones because they come with lots of backgrounds as well as individual cutouts. They also usually cover the front cover and the back cover of the paper pad in cutouts so that you can cut out individual items and individual bits and pieces. This one has heaps to choose from. So I'm going to choose a couple of backgrounds here. I've got this sort of light blue one that I'm going to use, and I'm just holding it up. That pink would look really nice. Actually, lots of these would look really nice. That one would. And then I thought actually the kind of it's like note paper, music paper with a little bit sort of browned note paper, and it's got some garden bits and pieces. It's got foliage, it's got flowers, butterflies, birds, watering cans, all sorts of little bits and pieces on it that are going to go nicely, I think. Now, I'm also going to use cutouts from the paper pad to finish things off. So we're going to come back to that in just a minute. I am just cutting these out so that they leave a small border on each of the panels. Now, honestly, for this, I just measure the panel that you're going to do, and then I do 1/4 of an inch smaller all round. That will give you a 1/8 of an inch border, or if you want it to be a 1/4 of an inch border all around, then cut it 1/2 an inch smaller on both sides, obviously. And so that's all I do, is I just measure each panel and then go smaller, depending on if you want to add a matting layer or not. I'm not going to. I'm just going to add in these pattern paper layers. Now, I had this bird hanging around, which I love. I don't know where it came from. I really love the bird, and I was thinking of incorporating it, but actually it kind of didn't end up working, but it's going to hang around for a little while. Now, here are some really cute elements that are, as I said, you can cut these out. Obviously, you could just use them as they are, but I'm going to choose to cut them out. A little birdhouse, a little flower. There's that one larger leaf that I'm going to cut out there, but I'm actually going to change it up because I decided to do a bit of DIYing halfway through this. And then there's that gorgeous big flower as well, but I think I might save him for later. I have this bird here that I was thinking of using, so I'm going to use either one bird or the other bird. Wasn't sure which one at this point. And then at this stage, really, I'm just going to quickly take some brown ink. This is either the ground espresso or vintage photo. Can't remember which brown ink, but any brown ink is obviously going to work. It's very, very light, very, very light. But because I'm not adding in a matting layer, I do find that this does help it sort of with that finished edge look, and it's going to go nicely with both of the colours, both of the backgrounds that I've chosen, as well as sort of working in with the actual theme of the papers. So this one goes on the very back. Now bear in mind that some of this will be covered up as well, but that's okay. This is just the easiest way to do it, and remember that some panels are going to be seen more than others for sure. So I mixed it up and did 2 of the note paper and then 1 of the blue, and then this one I'll do the opposite and do 2 of the blue and 1 of the note paper. I do want one of the elements here, this big long strip, that's going to have all of my little focal points on it, and then the very last one, I'm going to not do this quite yet because I am going to stamp my sentiment on that last blue panel there. Now, just thinking about how I want this all to go, figuring out if this little birdie fits in or not, wasn't sure, so I'm going to pop him aside. I just feel like this one works a bit better, but he looked a bit, you know, just hanging in there. So I thought actually I'd create a little branch for him to go on using some of that note paper that's left over, just down the very bottom, very, very basic scissor cutting, no plan. And then I go over it with a little bit more of the brown ink that I already had out because that, you know, just change the color of it, even though you can still see the note paper and things through it. That makes it a nice cohesive little element to add. And then out of that one big petal, I actually end up cutting a couple of smaller little leaves that are going to go on the end of my branch. So it all came together in the end. From the P13 Dear Love collection, I have these little tickets, little ephemera, I guess. As of the time of this voiceover, most of these are on clearance at scrapbook.com, so I will link those down below. I'm actually going to pick up a few more because I really did love this Dear Love collection, and I think that is good value just to, you know, I'm just popping some little ephemera sort of pieces in behind just to add a bit more going on in our little creation here. And then I'm just going to pop all of this down pretty flat because as you can imagine, there's already sort of a couple of layers of cardstock to create bulk, so I don't want to pop anything up or have, you know, too much going on. I did get a little bit carried away in a second though, you'll see. I popped the bird, put a little bit of brown ink around the outside of him, and then he's not yet sitting on the branch, so don't forget we're going to need to come back to that. Add a couple of little leaves on the end of my branch, and I think it looks pretty good. I was pretty happy with how that looked. Then I have my stamp set. This is the Honeybee Big Bold Birthdays stamp set, and I knew that I wanted to use this one because these are big, sort of bigger, large sentiments, which I love, and I have to sort of remind myself that I really do reach for these bigger sentiments. Sometimes I really want a little tiny one. Yeah, good to have a range of sizes in your stash. Anyhow, I popped it in my stamp platform, which has the Altenew sticky grid. That's what I use in the back there. It sticks nicely to my platform. I don't have to use any washi tape or anything to stick it down. I can use both sides, and I do cut it down a little bit to fit in my platform, but it has lasted me a long, long, long time. I'm quite impressed. I've added on some little leaves just by drawing them in with a black fine liner, and that's starting to look good. I've got this little flower, which I wasn't sure where I wanted it to go. It can come off the top there because, you know, as long as it doesn't come off the right-hand side, because that will be the edge of the card, but it can come off the top because that was still within the card boundaries. And then I decided to go ahead and add a colourful, vibrant brad, but these are sort of antique bronze around the outside with a colourful centre, and so it kind of matches with the theme of everything else going. And then I thought maybe a bluish colour one would be nice because that's what we have going on. I'm going to add this. I just sort of push the pins back in underneath it so it's going to lie as flat as a brad will. And then I'm going to use some Ranger Multimedium and the matte finish. That's what I'm going to use to go underneath here, not the art glitter glue that I'm using to stick the card together, because I trust the matte medium is just going to be much stronger long-termish, you know. Even if I send this card through the mail, I really want to know that it's going to be in place when it arrives, and I know that that glue is super strong and dries super sure, so that is what I'm going to use to put the brad on, but I'll do it right at the very end because essentially it's just going to sit there and we're gluing it onto that gorgeous flower. And then I can't help myself with a few little details as well. Here I'll add the matte medium, but with the birdie, I felt like he needed, you know, perked up a little bit as well. So I was thinking about what to put on there. And then I also had this little ruler strip here, which, you know, we might as well add in all the little bits and pieces of ephemera. So I'm going to pop this down the back there just because I had it on my desk and I may as well use it up as well. And it fitted with the theme. And then I'm also going to add something onto the birdie. Now I wanted something glittery or sparkly or some kind of element that made them stand out. And I was thinking about glossy accents with a little bit of glitter in it or something, but went with the diamond stickles. That's this card all done for today, the double Z fold. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!